Gotcha. So how would you say the term protect yourself at all times? Like people hear it, right? Like you said, people watch boxing, they want to see the knockouts, right? But dealing with the aftermath. So how important is that one phrase that people so often look over? How important is that to a combatant?
Yeah, so like Victor Ortiz when he headbutted Floyd Mayweather years ago, Floyd played to his inexperience. Victor had apologized to him, said Floyd leaned in like he was going to hug him. Victor opened up, Floyd knocked him out. I mean, you're in a fist fight in the end of the day, right? So, and I don't think what Floyd did was wrong because Victor Ortiz literally bent down and jumped and slammed his head into his face. So, I mean, that shows you the kind of respect that he had. It's just like when Austin was fighting Vitaly Gubkin, which, I mean, the Russian guys, they keep saying he got robbed and this and that. It was a split decision. It was a great fight. I wish they'd shut the hell up. We've offered them the rematch 3 times. They haven't taken it, but somehow they got robbed. That doesn't make any sense, and it's on my dime, so they need to hush with that. But going into the 10th round, I thought it was 5-4 either way. I thought Austin had maybe won 5 rounds or Vitaly Gubkin had won 5 rounds. And Austin said, I think I'm winning the fight. I said, do you know you're winning the fight? He goes, I know I'm winning the fight. I said, well, you probably are. I was like, but this fight is close. It's like, I think you need to go out there and back this guy up a little bit. Now, that guy was stronger, but Austin was slicker. I was like, you need to back this guy up a little bit. And the last thing I said after that was like, now don't leave on a stretcher unless you're willing to. I was like, because I knew what it was going to take to back that guy up based off their skill sets. And I wanted, I was real apparent with, I knew what the dangers were. Do you think it's worth, you know what I'm saying? Do you think it's worth risking your health to make sure you win this fight? We've been doing this for 3.5 years. The health risk I was in Richmond at a show that I was the matchmaker and me and my wife were watching. And I never sit in the stands and watch because I'm always running the show. It is unbelievable how little the fans actually care about the well-being of the combatants. It is amazing. They don't even look at them like people.
It's crazy, man. It's almost like cockfighting with chickens.
Yes. Oh, they don't look at them as people. Like this one guy got knocked down twice, and I was screaming, please, ref, please stop it, please stop it. And thank God he did. And the fans are booing. They wanted him to get knocked out, but he was defenseless. There was no point. There was no sport left in it. It's like you go out deer hunting, but you chain the deer to the tree and shoot it. There's no sport in that.
Yep.
But we're talking about people. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. It kind of makes me sad sometimes.
It is, because you see that, and I think, and I want to get your opinion on this. So the knockdown rules in boxing versus the UFC. So if you get dropped, a lot of times they'll get in there and stop it. But in boxing, you can, you get the TKO, like a 3 knockdown rule. So could you talk about the difference?
Yeah, I think that's actually one of the things that, I mean, I'm a purist, so you can't change it. But I mean, I think that's one of the things that makes MMA safer to a degree, right? You get subconcussed or concussed, the guy's going to jump on you, the fight's over. You got enough fortitude, you get concussed and dropped, and you get up and somehow gather yourself, you get to fight the rest of the fight. But, there's moments like Gotti and Ward, Fraser Ali 3. These are it's the beauty of boxing, right? It's the art of the violence. It's to see somebody overcome something that we all hoped that we would be man enough to do.
Yep.
Like my buddy, I met him. It's crazy. I met him on video games. Florent Groberg. He's a Medal of Honor recipient from Barack Obama gave him the Medal of Honor, and he's got a book and stuff. And I met him down in Texas. He came to one of my fights. I can't, I don't want to butcher the story too bad, but they had cleared out some streets in a war zone, and then all of a sudden this guy came out and he was a little nervous. So he went, it took him like 6 seconds. I think that's the name of the book. It might be 8 seconds. He goes and he tackles the guy, and the guy blows up. It still kills some people behind him. See, everybody imagines that they're going to be the person that's going to sacrifice it. But let's be real. There's such a small percentage of them, right? It's the same thing with fist fighting. Now, I don't want to pretend that fist fighting is as heroic as risking your life to save somebody else. It's not like that, but it's the same. My buddy was in Iron and Ale when that guy got shot. He said afterwards, all the people were texting him, I would have stopped him. I would have disarmed him. I would have done this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure you would have.
Yep.
Yeah, sure
Until
you
that
would have.
moment happens. Yeah, and it's I think when you're thinking about bravery and you're talking about boxing, and I think when you're looking at like the level of sacrifice, could you tell me? And I think boxing has a parallel to like real life, right? And I think if you're willing to fight in the ring, that's almost a reflection of how they fight in real life, how they deal with, a depression, bad situation. So could you talk about the parallels?
Yeah, when you reached out to me and we had been separated for some years, and then you told me about the brain tumor. The first thing I said to you, I was like, man, that redefines fear for you, doesn't it? And you told me how it changed your life.
Yep.
And I think that most people, the world has gotten so soft, so protected. That's why we fight over so many silly things. They've never experienced real fear.
Yep.
Now, you come in here and spar, you talk the big game, and there might be some ignorance there. Like, so you might not even have fear until you get hit once and you realize how bad you've messed up. But when you're a trained fighter and you're fighting another trained fighter and there's 100,000 people watching, or you're standing across the ring from the former heavyweight champion of the world, right? Like, I'm a trained athlete, and I won't say like I'm like shaking afraid, but there's healthy fear there. You know what he can do. Mm-hmm. And it just redefines everything in your life. Like that moment that they told you, John, we have to open up your brain, right? All that's the person that cut you off, the person that's, oh, your podcast is not any good. Yep. Oh, I don't like the way you fight. None of that matters anymore. That's what I was talking about earlier. The only thing that really matters is love. You're thinking about your family members, your wife, your lineage, and passing down the good things. It's hard not to respond to the hate because there's so much noise now. But it's made it a lot easier for me having real fear, and I think for other people, and they don't have to necessarily get beat up, but to be in a simulation of a fight where they don't even get struck, to see how fast it moves and the discipline it takes to get ready for it. I think there's something there, and that's what Owen does with Hilton's hitters for the kids. Like I like helping people get in shape, and I love teaching the art of boxing, but I'm obsessed with building prize fighters too. Owen is more about giving, because he had a lot of anxiety as a child, and my gift to him was showing him boxing. He ended up having 7 pro fights, but it basically cured his anxiety to a degree. And Owen looks at that gift, and that's what he wants to give to the next generation coming up, right? So that's legacy.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you speak about legacy, I think when you look at as many fights as you had, a lot of people would talk about it, but I don't think they would do it. Talk about the pressure of competition and how that helps to build legacy.
There was a point coming up, I was just rushing. I always wanted to fight. Plus, I'm young. I feel invincible. Then all of a sudden, I had these big fights, and then now everybody, even if they don't know me, they've heard of me, right? And it's like this. I never got nervous in fights until near the end. I think, I got kids and I know how dangerous it is. But also there's this myth surrounding Cujo, right? And like a lot of these people that come the first time, they want to see the Cujo fight. I can't live up to those things that they think that I am, right? That's that's pressure. It's a lot easier when you're going out and you're fighting the former heavyweight champion of the world. You're not supposed to do nothing. Yeah. But you fight some guy's got 11-2 record, or even the 36-0 guy. I've never lost in the state of Virginia. I think I'm 20-0. They was expecting me to run through that guy. The pressure built up on him. He ultimately pulled out of the fight, but there was a lot of pressure there. It's like a cloud hanging over you. It just changes the way you prioritize things in your life. You get to find out what's important to you then. Yeah.
So when you go from Scott Cujo Sigmon to the more thought out guy, right? Now that you have a family and you have some little ones, how does that shape your preparation for going into fights?
Well, I hope I'm not fighting anymore. So I always say that. So we know I still might end up in the ring. But I just try to make sure, I try to protect guys like Austin, and then Rashawn Morgan come up behind him. I got a heavyweight named James Willis out in Roanoke. I'm always talking to them guys about overtraining, making sure you're not getting injured. Don't spar too much. I'm a lot more longevity driven and trying to protect their health more. Like James had an Achilles injury and he was still trying to fight this 13-1 heavyweight. And I was like, James, man, what if you tear it? Like, you're going to be out this long and this could happen to your family if you don't have this income from fighting. You know what I'm saying? I'm a little more. The old me would have been like, oh yeah, let's go take the fight. We'll show this guy who's the boss. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think the fragility of our existence hangs over me a lot more. I used to not think about it. I was talking to my physical therapist. This guy, he said he was with the coach that was training the Olympic skiers. They're jumping like hundreds of yards. They're flying. I don't know what it's called, aerial or something. And the kids are like 5 and 6 years old. He's like, man, why you start them so young? He goes, we have to teach them now. If we start them when they're mid-teens, they realize they could die. You have to desensitize them to the danger. Yeah. It's insane. Yeah. And that's how I was for so long.